What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Friday. If you celebrate, of course. Yes, it's Friday, April 7th. It's 24 hours before, actually a bit less than 24 hours before Manchester United versus Everton at Old Trafford in the lunchtime kickoff tomorrow. And we've got some big team news because the breaking news coming in the last couple of minutes or so is that Christian Eriksen is indeed back. Yes, if I had the KG bomb, I would press it and boom, boom, boom. Yes, boom. Yes, yes. I need a button. I tried to have a soundboard before and it broke everything. I tried to have a bit of like a virtual one and I was going to have a lot of different wrestling themes and drops on there and it didn't work out. Maybe I need to invest in a physical soundboard. Maybe that's something I need for the future. Who knows? But yes, Christian Eriksen is indeed back. Erik ten Hag has spoken to the assembled media at Carrington in the last couple of minutes and has confirmed what we had hoped. He's answered our prayers. We had seen that Eriksen had been in team training this week. Yesterday, the images dropped of Eriksen there. It was quite funny. One of the images, you had Eriksen kind of front and centre, and just in the distance, or just in the pitch, you had Casemiro, and you thought, oh, this close. This close to being back. Yes, Everton is the last game that Casemiro is unavailable for as well. So we could be getting Thursday and next weekend the reuniting of Eriksen, Eric Miro. It still doesn't really work. Maybe it's enough of merging those team names together. Yeah, maybe team names, player names together. Maybe that we just need to leave that firmly in the past, something like that. I don't know. The point being is that Christian Eriksen is back. Do I expect him to start tomorrow? Probably not. I would think he'd be on the bench considering the length of time that he was out. Erik ten Hag has also confirmed Luke Shaw is unavailable for tomorrow's game, which is to be expected. Again, he did come off during the weekend. We don't really know still really what the issue is. It looked like it might have been a hamstring or something like that. If you twinge a hamstring, you're not going to play on a Wednesday. You're definitely not going to play lunchtime on a Saturday, are you? And he had some other things to say as well, and a pretty short and sharp and sweet press conference. So we're going to get into all of it. We're going to get into all of the quotes, all of the questions, all of the reactions, and get some of your comments up on the screen as well. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. Lots of people are talking about the really big news. It says, yes, I'm in a T-shirt. Yeah. So, you know, I said that sometimes, you know, as the weather gets nicer, it's British summertime now. According to the clocks, I know Marcel doesn't believe in time. T-shirt settings at the moment. Yeah, that's all it is. T-shirt settings. I don't have a sponsorship with Under Armour, but if they're watching, which they're not, you know, hey, you never know. We haven't got ads clicked on this or paid sponsorship clicked on this video. So that's the real big news, isn't it? You know, forget all of the stuff about whether or not Christian Eriksen back. The real news is the T-shirt. That's really what people are talking about. I think it's what you've really come here for. Not that you would come here for that. Let's move on. Let's talk about some of the quotes actually as well. See some other comments too as people file in as well. SJ is right. What SJ? Steffi Jenks changing the name, not changing the moderating skills and membership. Says yes, 2 minutes early. Indeed, I was. Yeah, 2 minutes early. Well, that's what you get when these solo streams. You know me. None of the KG lateness or anything like that. No. And you could say, hey, why is KG catching stray bullets there? Because, you know. Because it's funny. So yes, let's get into some of these quotes from Ten Hag. Again, the first question was about Christian Eriksen, and Erik ten Hag confirmed that indeed Christian Eriksen will be in the squad to face Everton. He said, quote, Luke Shaw is not available for tomorrow. We have to wait and see about the progress for the coming week. But the good news is Eriksen is back in training and he will be in the squad. We first feared we had lost him for the whole season, but he worked really well, and the medical department did very well as well. He also said something about the tackle from Andy Carroll that Christian Eriksen sustained, which actually led to this injury. Ten Hag, he's a man of my own heart because this man holds a grudge and he hasn't forgotten, and he shouldn't forget. He said, I was so angry about that tackle. Thought we lost him for the whole season. It was a really bad tackle. It was a really bad tackle by Andy Carroll and Christian Eriksen. Not only did it injure him for 3 months? When was that? January? I think it was. Maybe. I think it was January, right? And so he's been out of action for 3 months. And guess what? Andy Carroll, I don't even know if he got a booking for that. I don't think he did he? His 2 yellow cards were separate to it. What a load of nonsense. And that's my issue with refereeing. You lose a player like Christian Eriksen, and make no mistake, it did hurt us, because with Casemiro's suspensions being what they have been over the last couple of months, we'd have been in a much better position had we had Christian Eriksen in our side. He is just that important. Didn't even get a booking. Yeah? According to the referee, that's fine. You know, and this isn't the whole point. When a player gets a red card, it's about endangering the player. He was endangered. He was injured. He hurt his leg because of the tackle that Andy Carroll did. And you could say, well, later on he got sent off, so it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter, because we lost a player because of it. Good refereeing, though. And apparently, I saw a thing the other day that they've done this like internal report, and they think refereeing's getting better in the UK, in the Premier League, in England. I was like, that's my frustration as well, is any like independent review or any reviews of refereeing. Oh yeah, we're trying to get ourselves better. No, you're not. Come on, let's not even get into anything like that. But again, the big news is that Christian Eriksen is back. He's available for tomorrow at Old Trafford again. He's not going to start. I'd be flabbergasted if Christian Eriksen started tomorrow. Of course, there's a temptation to do it, considering our midfield options are somewhat limited and they're a bit. We're a better team. We're a stronger team, of course, having Christian Eriksen in that midfield. And you know, I think tomorrow, I said this during the preview, I think we're going to get McTominay and Sabitzer once again, which does worry me. It does, because that was the midfield that played against Newcastle last Sunday, and it wasn't good. They got completely overrun. The gaps were massive, and it was just a really poor performance. Not just from them, but I think the real crux of our defeat against Newcastle stemmed from, again, just getting so overrun in midfield. It was so obvious to see. Now, I was concerned once I saw that same midfield pairing line up against Brentford on Wednesday. But it's a little bit different when you're playing at home. It's a little bit different when you're playing a team that's just going to get behind the ball, which ultimately Brentford did that. They sat behind the ball quite a bit on Wednesday, more so than I kind of thought, and we had more possession, so the midfield was more comfortable. And I expect the game to be somewhat similar against Everton tomorrow. I mean, we know what they're going to do. We know what Sean Dyche is going to do. He's going to just make it really difficult for us at Old Trafford, right? He's just going to, again, I hate the phrase park the bus, because it seems like such a negative way, or it's got a negative connotation to it, you know, with managers and players and fans and all that kind of stuff. Oh, they came to Old Trafford and they just parked the bus. Yeah, they did. Because if Everton come to Old Trafford tomorrow and they try and play expansive, free-flowing total football, they'll lose 3 or 4-0. It's redundant for them to try and do that. Oh, but it's the right way to go around it. No, it's not. The right way to go around any kind of football match is what tactics are going to get you the best result possible. And for Everton, since Sean Dyche has come in, you know what he's going to do. He's going to get them very, very solid in defence. They don't drop as many points as they were previously. They don't concede as many goals as they were previously. Again, they'll get a low block, and then when they have their opportunities, they'll get balls into the box from wide areas. They'll look for set pieces, and they'll make it difficult. So because of that, steering it back to the midfield, that's why I think he'll probably go with Sabitzer and McTominay once again for that extra bit of physicality. I think he'll go with McTominay for that extra bit of height for set pieces, because again, that's really what Everton are going to be looking for when it comes to corners. And they've got some tall players in their team as well. So despite Eriksen being available, I think he'll get on the pitch tomorrow. But I don't think he'll start. I'd be really, really surprised if he started that game again. I think it's more likely that we see an Eriksen cameo off the bench, and again, the circumstances surrounding it, that's what's going to be fascinating. Is it going to be a case of 65, 70 minutes, we've got to bring Christian Eriksen on because we're looking for creativity and we just can't break Everton down, and it's 0-0, or heaven forbid we're chasing that game at that point, we're 1-0 down or anything like that. You would hope the ideal situation is that Manchester United are in control. They're either 1-0 up, 2-0 up, maybe even more than that. And you bring Eriksen on purely for the minutes, purely to, again, get some minutes into his legs and then go from there. But it's going to be a really challenging one, I think, tomorrow. I'm hoping for a straightforward game, but I just think given our recent form, given that we have looked sluggish, given that we are missing players and we do tend to start games still particularly quite slow, I just think the last thing we need to do is give Everton a foothold in that game, because that's all they need. That's all they need under Sean Dyche. Just a foothold in the game, something to cling on to, something to hang on to, and they'll make it challenging. So I'm hoping that Eriksen's cameo is just based around minutes, not based around, we've got to bring him on because we've got to hope that he can create something. Ugh. That would be my concern. But I'm excited that Eriksen's back. I'm excited that we're, a game away now from Eriksen and Casemiro playing together again. I suppose the question, not wanting to look too far forward, because there is a game tomorrow, but the question then becomes, given that Eriksen's back now, are we going to possibly see Eriksen and Casemiro starting against Sevilla in Europa League? Does he go really strong for that first leg at Old Trafford on Thursday, try and blow him out of the water, and then the week after, when you're in Spain, you can kind of rest up a little bit because you've already got the game won, sort of similar to what we did against Real Betis. I wouldn't put it past Ten Hag, honestly. I wouldn't put it past him doing that. I don't think Eriksen will play 90 in either. Definitely ain't going to play 90 tomorrow. I'd be really surprised he played 90 on the Thursday, but I wouldn't be surprised if he started on Thursday, because again, that's an important game, and the Europa League's looking quite promising for us as well. So let's see. See what some of you guys are saying in the comments. Ed says we always struggle versus Dyche ball. Yeah, we've Burnley, when he was the Burnley manager, we had sometimes a bit of a difficult time with Sean Dyche. Again, Sean Dyche teams are weird, aren't they? Because again, if you give them something to hang on to, then they can make it difficult. I feel like just if you get that early goal, then they can kind of collapse, because the game plan just comes completely undone. And that idea of them low block, they can't do that anymore. That's what we need. But I just don't know. I just don't know if I see that tomorrow. I think it's going to be a really cagey game. And that's CAGEY, not KJ. Not RKG. Starlord says, let's not rush Eriksen. Mike says, I've gone a 2-0 win and a team of David De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Butcher, Malacia, Sabitzer, Fred, Sancho, Bruno, Anthony, Rashford, Bruni. And Blue David Never Dies says, hopefully the Sevilla home game is going to be a draw, because I just bought a ticket for the away match. Come on. We've got to get a victory. Forget no draws. No draws. And Steffi Jenks says, agreed, Ari Eriksen. Yes. So no Luke Shaw as well, which I said is not too much of a surprise considering he went off midweek. I don't think we expected him. And again, I think it goes to show how impressive Terrell Malacia has been for Manchester United this season, really, as well. The fact that Luke Shaw's out and he's a big player, he's an important player, but you're still relatively comfortable having someone like Terrell Malacia come in. That's what you need in those kind of positions. Malacia came on against Brentford. I thought he did a good job. And actually, it might be, a real good game for Terrell Malacia, because he does bring that energy, that intensity, that work rate. And that's what might be needed. I mean, the thing you don't get with Malacia that you do get with Luke Shaw is you do get that quality on the ball. You do get that ability to put a decent ball in the box or have an extra pass, and just those little bits of quality in those final third positions that maybe you do need to break down a team that's playing so defensively. But I think when it comes to work rate, and that's what it's going to be about tomorrow, is matching Everton's intensity and work rate, because that'll be the basic fundamentals for Everton under Sean Dyche. Malacia will do that, and again, I think that's a positive too. Now, Ten Hag was then asked about the passion in Manchester United, in his Manchester United team, and seeing that against Brentford. He said, you have to do it, have passion, every game. This has to be the standard. You have to do it, and that's the responsibility you have to deliver when playing for Manchester United. You have to be accountable. And I'm really glad he said that, because that is a word, that last bit there, being accountable, is something that hasn't been associated with the Manchester United team and squad in quite a while. And I'm still not sure they're there just yet, because there have been times this season when we have seen performances and you don't feel like the players are being held accountable for certain drops in standards and performances that are just unacceptable. Because make no mistake, I know that we're in a bit of a journey. We're still in somewhat of a rebuild. It's Ten Hag's first season. There are going to be negative results. There are going to be negative performances. But make no mistake, despite any quality that Manchester United have or don't have in their side, some of the results we've had, particularly those big ones away from home, you can name them, the Liverpool away, the Manchester City away, and even really that Newcastle defeat last weekend, they're unacceptable. And not just the results, but mainly I'm talking about the performances. I'm talking about the work rate. I mean, Brentford earlier on this season, unacceptable. Like that, you cannot half-ass it. And we have seen that at points this season, in those games in particular. And we have seen it in recent seasons where you just look at some of the performances and they're just kind of pathetic, really. It's just, again, you're half-assing it. Not running enough, not putting in enough of a shift, not putting tackles in, having no intensity. And again, a feeling of they don't care. They don't feel accountable for these negative performances. And I do feel like Ten Hag has made real progress with some of these players in being held accountable and owning up to negative performances and negative attitudes. Because this season, in comparison to other seasons, we've seen that they can do it. We've seen that they can run those extra kilometers. We've seen they can match the intensity of other teams. We've seen that they can beat the big teams at home. We've beaten every big team pretty much in the league at home this season. So we've seen that this team can do it, but there is still this element of fragility and still this element of maybe some players on some days when the going gets tough not being totally accountable. And I feel like Ten Hag still has a way to go to drive that mentality in every single time. And just when we feel like they've turned the corner when it comes to their mentality or being held accountable every single time, every single game, and being accountable for themselves as well, not relying on teammates to bail them out, then sometimes they have a bit of a setback. But it's not going to be a linear straight journey, is it? There are going to be setbacks. And the important thing is that you take a step back and you see the progression that United are making under Ten Hag. And I've seen that in the last week or so. You know, people comparing, saying, oh, this time last season, Manchester United won this amount of points and Erik ten Hag's only on, is it like 2 more points, 3 more points than Ralf Rangnick this time last season? And you're raving about him. You're raving about Ten Hag. I mean, as always, mainly comes from opposition fans, right? But I've seen people talking about that. And to be honest, again, you can't. It's apples and oranges, honestly. It's apples and oranges in comparison to last season. And because you have to look at the difference of the league as well. Yeah, this time last season, Ralf Rangnick was on a certain amount of points and Ten Hag's on a few extra points. As of right now, we're 4th in the Premier League. As of right now, we've won a trophy. As of right now, we're still in the FA Cup and we're still in the Europa League and we're in good positions in those tournaments. It's a completely different season. Totally different season. Ralf Rangnick might have been on a certain amount of points this time last season, but we were out of the FA Cup, out of the League Cup and out of Europe. Totally different. And this is what I go back to, where people can point to certain statistics and stats and all this kind of stuff, but they can always be manipulated. They can always be manipulated to fit any kind of point or agenda that you're trying to make. And it's funny because every time we do get a negative result this season, oh my goodness me, opposition fans, they're doing their best, absolute best, to try and convince us that Erik ten Hag is no good. And every single time we have any success this season, they're trying to convince us that that's not success either. We win a trophy. It's not a real trophy though, is it? Despite the fact that certain people have celebrated that trophy quite a lot over the last few years. We're 4th in the Premier League. Wow. It's not top of the league though, is it? We're in the last stages of the FA Cup. Wow, you haven't won it yet though, have you? Yeah, we're in, last stage of Europa League. Wow, it's not the Champions League. Like what? They literally, we could win every single game in a Premier League season, and you still get people going, "Wow, I'm not sure." Ten Hag, what's he really doing? It's just, it is nonsense. It is nonsense. And if we win tomorrow, it won't change anything. It'll beat Everton. Well, he should be beating Everton. Old Trafford, really. Even though some people haven't beat Everton at home this season. It's like Brentford in the week. Beat Brentford. Wow, you're beating Brentford at home. Oh, not sure about that. Well, Man City didn't. Wow, it doesn't really matter. It's just the goalposts constantly shifting, constantly. See what else you guys are saying. Some people talking about Harry Kane, saying about who to sign in the summer. Look, I don't even want to get into Harry Kane today. I've said my piece on Harry Kane. I'm not opposed to bringing in Harry Kane at all. I feel like again, I feel it's strange that people are sort of turning their nose at him a little bit. my preferred option would be Victor Osimhen because of the age, and I think he's had an excellent season at Napoli. I think the price is going to be insane. But I'm not opposed to Harry Kane. Why would we be opposed to someone that has scored 20 plus goals in the Premier League for like the last 6 or 7 seasons? I mean, just what a difference that would make at Manchester United. It's like it's proven he will score those goals at United. Like guaranteed. Well, nothing's guaranteed, but near enough. You know, he's going to be the record goal. He's a record goal scorer for Spurs. He's going to be the record goal scorer in the Premier League, and he's a record goal scorer for England. And even when I say those things, people say, "Well, England doesn't matter." It does matter, and it's not just one of those things. Well, yeah, but it's only really in qualifiers or friendlies. It's not. His record in tournaments very good, very very good. In addition to that, people go, "Oh yeah, but Spurs, well, they play in the Premier League, you know, and where else is he meant to have scored them in the last however many years?" And people point out, yeah, but what's he won? He plays for Spurs. He's not going to win anything at Spurs. As I've said before, if he played for Bayern Munich the last however many years of his career, he would have won a shit ton of stuff, but he don't. You know, so I understand the age and I understand the price. And as I've said, Victor Osimhen would be my preferred choice. But I'm not going to sit here and throw my hands up and flip the table if we sign Harry Kane in the summer and try and pretend like he's terrible, because he's not. And again, I know people go, English bias, British bias. No, English bias is seeing like an average English player and saying, they'd be great. English bias is looking at someone like Declan Rice, right, and saying, he'd be like, he's one of the best defensive midfielders in the world, because he's not. He is not. He's a very good player, but he's not one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. There is absolutely an argument that Harry Kane is one of the best strikers in the world. Like Harry Kane would get into near enough any single side in the world. Like in the world. He could go to Real Madrid. He could go to Barcelona. He could go to wherever you want to go. Bayern Munich want him. Yeah, the only places he couldn't really go are places like Man City, where they've already got a world-class striker that's in that category. You know, Harry Kane, we'd be nuts to turn that down. I think we would. Absolutely. And again, the price is a lot, and I'm a bit, I don't know about that. But at the same time, as I've said, Robert Lewandowski's 34. He went for nearly 50 million. What was it, 40, 45? He had 1 year left on his contract. Harry Kane's 29. He's 30 in the summer. Kind of adds up a little bit, honestly. But you know, like I said, I've been diverted. And also I've said of Harry Kane too. Like, but he's 30. I mean, he can play at this level for at least four more years, easy. Because his style's not like that. It's not. It's not on people's shoulders sprinting around. He drops deep anyway. He almost plays like almost like a number 10 and a number 9 in how he drops deep. So, you know. I don't understand. Well, I do. Again, I know people will say, like, you know, English bias and what's he ever won? But he's not really been. I mean, what have Spurs really come close to winning? The Champions League, and people forget he shouldn't have played in that final at all because he was injured, and Pochettino took a risk, played him in the final, and he offered absolutely next to nothing, 0. Apart from that, what's he really ever come close to winning? That's because he plays for Spurs. You know, that's about it. I've lost my spot completely where I meant to be because I've just got off of one. I was talking about accountability. He was also asked about what the job that Sean Dyche is doing at Everton. He said he's doing a great job. The team is very fit and the physical output is outstanding. So we have to match that. He also continued by talking about, again, this sort of accountability and standards, saying it's about demands. We have to make standards always. It's about culture. You have to do it always. When you're not in top, they can do it once. But for a player who is at the top, competing for trophies, the Premier League, you have to do it always and be consistent. It's our job to bring that mentality. And again, he's right. He absolutely is right about that. And this is kind of the same point that I was mentioning previously, that, you know, to really, really compete for the top prizes, the top trophies, whether it's the Premier League, whether it's, you know, the FA Cup, whether it's the Champions League, it's that consistency every single week. You can't you can't drift through games and you can't half-ass performances. You can't just expect, particularly in the Premier League, maybe back in the day it used to be, if you're Manchester United, just turning up was enough and you'll probably win. Like under Sir Alex, sometimes the game used to be over before it even kicked off. You could take a look at some of the people in the tunnel. They'd be like, oh, fuck, got to come to Old Trafford. It's just not going to work out for us. And the game was already over. That's not the case anymore, especially at this point of the season too. You start seeing some really, really strange results at this point of the season. You start seeing these clubs that are lower down in the league pick up some big victories in games you don't expect them to. And if you even take your foot off the gas just a tiny bit, you will be punished for it. Make no mistake, if United don't show up and put the work in tomorrow, it could be a bad day for us at Old Trafford because Everton are fighting for their lives. Sean Dyche, he'll make it difficult, he'll know. And they're Sharks waiting for blood as well. And again, it's like Ten Hag was talking about, being accountable. It's upon the Manchester United players themselves. It shouldn't come from the manager. I know he sets the ethos and the mentality, but it should come from them. It should be an innate thing that they have some kind of standards, both personal and professional, that they don't allow for that. They don't allow for loss. They don't allow for their performance levels to drop even the smallest bit. Whether it's through fatigue, whether it's through the opponent, it's easy to get up for the big games. And I think that's the frustrating thing that we've seen, and we saw through March, is that we had some really big games in February, didn't we? We had that Barcelona game, or the Barcelona time. We had the Carabao Cup final, and it's easy to be up for those games. Anyone can be up for a final. Anyone can be up for playing a fantastic team like Barcelona, but can you do it midweek when you're tired against Brentford at home? Can you do it in the lunchtime kickoff against Everton? It's those kind of games. Or when we played Fulham, can you do it against Fulham in the FA Cup? When you're expected to go through anyway. And frankly, again, I always look at that Fulham result and think we got really lucky that day, because if it wasn't for a Fulham complete meltdown, I think that would have been a totally different game. And that's what Ten Hag's talking about. It's about that consistency. You have to be as up for playing Everton at lunchtime as you would be for playing Barcelona in the Camp Nou. That's just, and I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but that's his point. You cannot allow for it to drop even the slightest bit, because those are the standards that have made Manchester United successful in the past. Be sure to smash a like on the like button as well, guys. Mr. Popo says Sean Douche, which is very offensive, I feel like. Mike says over 300 people can smash the like button for Owen's hard work. I appreciate that. And Splashnet says Ten Hag versus Sean Dyche is like Stone Cold versus Goldberg. A match we never saw. We are going to see that tomorrow, though. Ten Hag versus Sean Dyche. That is not Stone Cold versus Goldberg, because that's not going to happen. I mean, if it did, that'd be horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Especially Goldberg's last few matches. He's not even signed to WWE anymore. But indeed, and again, that was about it when it came to the press conference. Again, it was very short, very sharp. So it was confirmed that the only absences tomorrow are the Luke Shaw injury and Casemiro suspension. They're the only two players that are unavailable for Manchester United to face Everton. Obviously, Shaw's got that. I mean, we're assuming it's hamstring injury. I don't think he said. But and Casemiro's got the suspension. That's going to be the last game for it. So Casemiro's going to come back. And we're nearing full strength then, really. If it's only Luke Shaw and Casemiro, that would imply that we're going to have a pretty strong bench, tomorrow. Which goes into, what do we think the starting 11 is going to be? As I said previously, I think it's going to be David De Gea in goal. And, I've gone for half an hour. I could go for an extra half hour with the David De Gea stuff over the last 7 days, because it's just been nuts. And I know it's not going to change tomorrow. David De Gea could make 3 wonder saves tomorrow. But what the real focus will be is that if he does a pass and it goes out for a throw-in, that'll be the real talking point. I'll tell you now, Fleck. So David De Gea in goal, Malacia at left back. Centre backs would expect the same, Martinez, Varane. Although, sometimes, just sometimes, when we have a Europa League game on a Thursday and we are playing every 3 or 4 days, sometimes he does take out Varane. Does he take out Varane tomorrow? I don't think so, but if he does, I wouldn't be totally shocked. I wouldn't be totally shocked if it's De Gea, Malacia, Martinez. Oh, if he plays Maguire. Because Flex pointed this out, was it this morning or was it yesterday on the match preview? I forget which one it was. Saying that in the last couple of games, he's actually brought on Lindelof over Harry Maguire. Would he start Maguire tomorrow? Feels like a recipe for disaster. Or would it be Lindelof? He's brought on Lindelof a lot recently, hasn't he? So maybe it would be Martinez and Lindelof. I wouldn't be shocked by that, honestly, just because whenever we have these kind of a lot of games, and because you have to manage Varane, because you know he's going to pick up an injury if you don't manage him properly, I wouldn't be shocked if it was Martinez and Lindelof. I wouldn't. What are you guys saying? Quite a few people are saying Lindelof. Luyo says, I could see him playing Maguire for physical. Again, I could maybe see that. Maybe. Sefi Jenk says, yeah, Lindelof. Knight says Europa League game is a while away. I mean, what? It's 5 days, isn't it? It's 5 days. But still, it's more so just the proximity of the game from Wednesday to Saturday lunchtime and knowing that there's another game in 5 days' time. If he plays Varane, again, I'm not going to be too shocked either way. But if Varane doesn't start, I'd be like, wow, he's just clearly he's resting him. As Joffrey says, Owen is hot stock on UV. Yeah, if you missed that this morning, go check it out. Hot stock. I want to get that on the KG soundboard as well. So centre backs, you never know. Right back. Well, he said there that the only two people that are unavailable are Luke Shaw and Casemiro. So that would imply that Wan-Bissaka's fit and ready to go. He was on the bench on Wednesday, I believe, as he came back from illness once again. So I could see Wan-Bissaka starting. Maybe Wan-Bissaka at right back. Midfield, I don't think Eriksen starts. He'll be on the bench. So I think we see McTominay and Sabitzer again. McTominay playing just purely for the height, again, for the physicality part of it. With Bruno a little bit deeper. I don't think we'll see Weghorst start again. I think it'll be the same forward line as well. I think it would be Sancho, Bruno, Anthony, Rashford. The question then becomes about Anthony Martial, doesn't it? That's the key thing. Does Anthony Martial start? My feeling is no. My feeling is no. I could see it being it's a strong bench. That is a strong bench tomorrow. You've got Eriksen, you've got Martial. You got options really to come on and change the game, but I just have a feeling that he won't. My feeling is, just like this whole recovery for Anthony Martial that we've seen, I mean, this guy's been in training since like Barcelona. I remember Flex going to Carrington for the press conference. He was like, yeah, Martial's training. That was in like February, and he's only just started playing games again. So because of that, I still think he might be a while away from starting. I still don't think he's going to play 90 minutes this season. I mean, if he started tomorrow, even if he starts, he's not playing 90, 100%. I think he'll go with the same forward line, and I think Martial will be on the bench, and maybe he comes on for 30 minutes or so, maybe a bit more than that. And hopefully, look, imagine finishing the game with Martial on there, Eriksen too. That'd be massively positive. But I don't think Martial will start. I think that's quite unlikely. But there you go. As I mentioned, short, sharp, sweet press conference for a Good Friday. Tomorrow, of course, is match day. So we'll be live from UVHQ. The match is 12:30 kickoff, so we'll be live at midday. There'll be a road trip, as always, with Flex on his way to Old Trafford. There'll be fan views from outside Old Trafford. There'll be fan views from inside UVHQ. There'll be fan views virtually as well. I'm going to be chatting with Kenny, once again, Uncle Kenny, Eric Kenhag, to get his reactions afterwards. I believe KG is back also inside UVHQ on Saturday, so keep him company too. And here's hoping, fingers crossed, that we get the result we're looking for, because there are some big games with the rivals this weekend, right? It's Arsenal versus Liverpool. It's Tottenham versus Brighton. Who do Newcastle have? Again, don't they have a difficult one? Who are they playing? Brentford away. We've got to win. We've got to win. Starlord says, I love an early kickoff. I do, as long as you win. If you lose in an early kickoff, what a royal pain in the arse it is for the rest of the weekend, especially when it's nothing worse than like dropping points in the early kickoff and then seeing your rivals also drop points, and you go, oh, it could have been so different. So again, fingers crossed we get the results. I'm out of it. Have a good Friday and have a good weekend, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.